So first of all, I want to thank you, Ken. I can't believe I'm talking to Ken Coleman on my podcast. So Ken, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me that you took time out of your day, your busy schedule, to speak to me, to pour into me, and also the listeners of this podcast. You are America's career coach. You speak to millions of people every day. You give hope to me, to many others. I told you this in person when we met in November of 2020, how you were literally the voice of hope that I was listening to while I was traveling on my previous job. Yeah. And so I wanted to thank you again personally for that, Ken. And right now, I just want to dive right into it. Ken, you right now, or actually people listening to us right now, there's so many people right now, men and women, who go to work every single day and they're feeling bored. They're tired and frustrated because they don't like their jobs and they don't find fulfillment in their work. So I know what's true, but for the person listening, do you believe that it is possible to find purpose and wake up every day doing the thing that you were created to do?
I absolutely, unequivocally know that we can find it. And the reason I know that is because it's actually not a difficult find, but it appears to be for millions and millions and millions of people. This idea of figuring out what I was born to do, what is my dream job, what's my purpose, why am I here on this planet? It feels like such a daunting question to answer that only a few fortunate, lucky souls, bounce into it, or whatever the narrative that we as humans have constructed. That's just not the case. The answer to that question, why am I here, lies within us. So when we understand that, we go, oh, I thought this was going to be this really hard thing to figure out. And I thought it was going to be, this grand mystery, and it's not. And so what I teach, as you know, Jose, is there are 3 indicators within you, okay, that you've been given. They're gifts. And so when we realize what they are and that they are gifts, then it's a game changer. So I'll walk you through it. Number 1 is talent. Okay. Purpose indicator number 1 is the gift of talent. That means things that you're good at, hard skills and soft skills. If people are looking for the definition there, so we understand hard skills and soft skills. So people skills are soft skills. Hard skills are obviously things that we can actually do and use, and it's a tangible use. And so think of your talent as tools. If I'm highly empathetic and I'm a really good communicator, that's a hard skill and a soft skill, depending on who you talk to. But I can smash those skills together, and those become tools in the marketplace that I can use, okay? And so talent is number 1, what I do best. And think of talent, too, not just as a tool, but as a big old lump of clay like the potter uses when he sits down at the potter's wheel, or she sits down at the potter's wheel, and they begin to apply their hands and water, and they shape this lump of clay into a instrument, a tool, a bowl, a spoon, whatever, that is then a tool that can be used, and that's talent. Second is passion. This is we define passion as the work that you love to do. You're just passionate about this work. That's a task or a role. I love working with my hands. Gosh, I feel the juice. I get excited when I think about fixing something, or I get excited when I think about building something. And then when I'm in the middle of it, time stands still and I don't want to stop. That's high emotion and high devotion. That's passion. And finally, we talk about mission. And mission is defining the results that you want to create in this world. So all work, Jose, creates a result, right? But what are the results that I most want to create? The way we look at that is, who are the people you most want to help? Now, it could be solving a problem they have or fulfilling a desire they have. An example of that is they've got pain in their lower back. I'm going to be a physical therapist, or I might be a chiropractor. I want to help people with body pain. Okay, whatever.
Right.
Or I want to design shoes for women so that women feel pretty and women feel confident. Or I want to do hair for women. I want to do makeup, whatever. So one is a problem that needs solving. The other is a desire that needs fulfilling. And so what are the results? Who are the people you want to help? The problem you want to solve, the solution you want to provide. Those are three questions that come together to help you figure out what results you want to create. So now there's the deep breakdown. Now let's put it together. Your sweet spot, right? Where people just look at you and go, oh my gosh, that looks effortless for them. Your purpose at work, in your work, is in your sweet spot. And your sweet spot is when you are using what you do best, talent, to do work you love, passion, to produce results that matter to you, mission. And when you're doing those things, you are in your sweet spot. And here's the great freedom, Jose, is that there are multiple dream jobs and multiple career paths in your sweet spot. So you don't have to feel like there's this pressure to pick this one thing. And what if I'm wrong? I get that call all the time on the Ken Coleman Show. I want to do this, but how do I know it's the right thing?
Right.
And I walk them through that exercise. Is it in your sweet spot? And if the answer is yes, great, do it.
Wow, that is awesome. So now for the person listening right now who's probably saying, yeah, Ken, I agree with what you're saying, but I have bills, I have family responsibilities. You hear that a lot. It's too late for me. What would you say to that person who's making those excuses, or even though they might be valid excuses, but what do you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say that those are valid concerns, and I understand that you don't want to do anything reckless, but what I'm suggesting and what I'm teaching and how I'm guiding people has no crazy risk associated with it at all. And all you got to do is listen to the Ken Coleman Show on a daily basis, and I tell people all the time, we're not going to leave our day job recklessly. If we got to stay in the day job for another 3 to 5 years in order to get qualified and get connected to be able to get started, then that's what we're going to do. I mean, I'll remind, your listeners and your viewers today that once I discovered that broadcasting was the dream job for me, and it was in fact in my sweet spot, but I had no training in it, no education in it, no experience at all. I remember telling my wife one day, I said, babe, this could be a 5 to 7 year journey. And it was 7.5 years to get to Ramsey Solutions, which was a big break for me. But then I still wasn't in my dream job when I got here. I still had to put in another 3 years. So really it was a 10-year journey to my dream job. And never once did I do anything that was risky. Did I sacrifice financially some? Yeah, I did. But I had a plan. And when I sacrificed, I also cut back on my expenses. So I adjusted my lifestyle to be able to make the sacrifice. So nothing in this journey to the dream says that we've got to jump off a cliff. Whee! Or I'm brave and I am so strong and courageous. And we see a lot of this in the self-help space. Mm-hmm. We see it in movies sometimes and it gets romanticized. Right. But this, throwing caution to the wind and going for it, that's a false narrative. You can go for it and be all in, but not do anything stupid financially.
Right.
So again, when we take the risk, the crazy risk out, not calculated risk, but crazy risk, mm-hmm. It might take a little longer to get there, but that's realistic. But now if you want to take a crazy risk, could you fast forward the timeline? Yeah. But what's the downside of that? You could do something that's financially destructive. Right. I don't teach that, and I don't recommend that because it's not necessary.
Right. So in your book, I was trying to find out a little bit because I heard a little bit more of your story, listening to you on the show, listening to different podcasts or interviews that you've done, and I would like to know, how did you go from moving towards a career in politics? Yesterday was the inauguration as we're recording this. I live right here next to DC. Okay. How did you go from a career in politics? What was the shift of thought or mind to becoming America's career coach, giving hope to millions of people every day? Can you just share a little bit of that journey?
Yeah. So let's go back to the construct. I didn't know it as detailed as I know it now, and I didn't have the context of the construct that I just taught to start the interview, which is talent, passion, mission. I didn't know all that back then. That's what's been developed as a result of me figuring out, walking blindly through the room, and pumping my head and stubbing my toe. But if we look at the sweet spot, what changed for me? Okay. It wasn't talent. You know, so I was in politics where my top talents of communication and discernment, um, and being able to simplify the complex, and there's several other talents I could go through, but those are my big ones. That was absolutely a check mark if I was going to switch over to broadcasting. Then let's look at passion, the work that I love. You know, I love communicating. I love working on behalf of other people, helping them solve their problems. I'm a people problem guy. I love people problems. Love working on that. So that was a check. But the results that matter to me, I no longer wanted to be in that political realm. I lost the desire to produce political results. I'd been in it long enough to know that legislation and the lobbying and the fighting and all of that stuff, it wasn't producing the results that I wanted to produce. So it was a real confusing time for me. And so I began to dig and look into it. And what I realized is that it began to feed the passion. Well, wait a second, political work. Started to question all of that work. Like, what's the work that I want to do? Well, I want to go to the masses. I want to be able to talk to people around the world, and I don't want somebody to turn me off the minute that they see if I'm affiliated with one political party or one ideology. I was like, well, that kind of seems not very efficient. Because the minute that the minute you go into politics and start communicating, you're preaching to one side of the aisle at this point in our world.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
Are there independents and independent thinkers? Yes. But it's just, I got to the point where and this is years ago. I saw it was heading this way years ago. And so then I began to wrestle with it. And so when I got back to the point where it's like, wait a second, I still want to be a public figure, but not a political figure. But being a public figure for me is going to be a broadcaster. And then what kind of broadcasting do I want to do? What kind of broadcasting results? And I looked at sports broadcasting, and I enjoy talking sports, but that was an entertainment result, and I didn't want to produce an entertainment result. I wanted to help make people's lives fulfilling and full.
Yes.
So that's the short answer to where it leads you to, wait a second, if I want to do that, and I myself went through a kind of a career calling crisis and figured my way out of it. Wait a second, through my struggles came strength for me, and I think I could transfer that strength to others, and so here we are.
Wow, that's powerful. So thank you for sharing that. You know, one of your steps that you teach in the proximity principle in your book, The Proximity Principle, is to get in proximity to the right people in the right places so that opportunities will find you. Yeah. And I love that. So how can we get into proximity without feeling like sleazy or like we're just out to get something? I know for me that, when I meet someone at an event, and I know you talked a little bit about events there, but when you meet someone, you generally want to have a connection with them and build a relationship, whether that's a distant relationship, friendship. You don't want to have a transactional, if that's the word. But so how can you build those relationships without feeling that way?
Well, it starts with checking your motives before you start to connect. And what you got to remember is, I'm here to learn something, and I'm here to do something. I'm not here to get something. So you start with that. Okay. So when I'm out connecting with people, I need to make sure that I'm checking my motives. If I come in and I'm trying to get something from them, it's going to come out. It's going to affect the way I look, my body language, the way I act, the way I talk. It's going to do that. Versus saying, you know what? I'm here to learn. I'm here to meet people for the purpose of learning and for the purpose of maybe getting the opportunity to do and earn. Not be gifted in something, but to earn. And so really, I'd focus on the learning part. When you approach somebody to connect with them, if you come in and go, hey, you're somebody that I admire, you're somebody that's where I'd eventually like to be, I think, and I just want to learn from you. I want to learn from you. I want to get your knowledge and wisdom. So one is, information. The other is kind of discernment. And I just like to pick your brain and for the opportunity to continue to learn. What are some things I need to continue to learn? What are some things you think I need to do? When you come at it that way, it's not going to feel gross. It's just not. And understand that in doing it that way, and that permeates all of your questions, the way you act, the way you listen, and the way you speak. When you are acting like a human sponge, just think of yourself, I'm just a sponge. I'm not a vampire here to suck, connections and suck, opportunities out of these people. Right. No. I'm here to be a sponge. I'm going to act like a sponge. I think it's a good analogy there.
I love it.
And so here's what happens. When you do that, the person you're connecting with is going to feel valued. And when you make a person feel valued, you have, by osmosis, right, naturally, organically, provided value to them. Because that's the big hurdle a lot of people have, and I understand it. So I'm actually answering the question before they ask, because they're going, okay, can I get it? But I feel like if I'm going to ask somebody for their time, I got to do something for them, and I've got nothing to offer them. Not true. You offer them value by making them feel valuable.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow, that's great. So I think a lot of people today, they find themselves in different transitions, moving from one place or position to another. And they can easily feel lost during these times of life. I know that's been true for me. Maybe it's getting a dream job and realizing it wasn't what you expected, or what wasn't what you wanted in this season of your life. Maybe someone listening right now, they're facing the reality that they'll never be able to get into that certain school or get that degree, or and I know, again, I felt this confusion many times, but have you ever personally felt lost in your life transition, and how can people find hope in the middle while they're continuing to build their lives?
Yeah, well, sure, I have felt lost. There's no question about it. And when you step out on this path to fulfilling your purpose at work and really getting after it, life is going to throw some detours your way. There's going to be some big old roadblocks as well. And the road's going to be washed out. And you're going to be like, man, I felt like this was the right path. And then all of a sudden, there's a mudslide and it's gone. What do I do? And that's going to happen. And you do feel lost at times. But what's happening there is fear and doubt and pride. Those are the three mortal enemies to progress. So, I talk about this on the show all the time, and I'm writing about it right now in my next book, that fear, doubt, and pride will always be with us. You're never going to remove them. Anybody that tells you can remove them is full of it, but you can't overcome them. And so in those moments of using that mudslide analogy, you can feel really lost, but what's happening is somebody rejected you, or a venture failed, or whatever. Life just happened. In that moment, fear, doubt, or pride, or maybe all three of them come at you, and they begin to whisper, and then they start to talk louder, and the longer we let those thoughts and feelings, manifest themselves in our head and heart, it becomes a super highway of negativity, right, between the head and the heart. Feelings and thoughts, they just feed each other. And so in those moments, you've got to retreat back to clarity. Because when you're lost, what do? You start, okay, I start retracing my steps, my thoughts. Where did I go wrong? Like anytime I've been driving around and I'm lost, or I took a wrong turn, where did I take the wrong turn? We kind of go back. And so that's the same process. We got to go back to clarity. We want to retreat to clarity. And so we come back and we go, okay, was I on the path that I should have been on? Was it in my sweet spot? Was it a natural progression? Was it on purpose? The answer is yes. But due to this, and this, here's what happened. Okay. The rejection or the failure, Jose, doesn't change the fact that I was created to fill a unique role. I am needed. I must do it. Yeah. It doesn't change it. What it changes is the timeline. It changes the path. Right. Sort of. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we just got to sit still and rebuild the path and keep going. Maybe we got to retreat, find another way, a detour, and go that way. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the reason I'm telling you to retreat to clarity is because it allows you to overcome the fear and doubt and pride that's wanting you to quit or making you feel like you've hopelessly gone down the wrong path when that's not the case.
Mm.
So you always retreat to clarity. Wait a second. Am I supposed to be doing this? Talent, passion, mission? Absolutely. I know it. I know I'm supposed to be doing this, and this sucks right now, but I'm not going to quit, and I'm going to figure out what my next steps are to move forward. Is it a detour? Is it waiting for a season? Rebuilding? What is it? But see, we determine that after we shut fear, doubt, and pride down by going back to clarity. And here's what happens when we retreat to clarity. Clarity breeds confidence, Jose, and confidence breeds courage.
That's so true.
But absent of clarity, confidence can just flee and go away. So what do? We retreat to clarity. Okay. Builds our confidence. And confidence is what fuels courage in those moments of life where we feel like I'm lost. No, you're not. I give one final example on this, on why it's so vitally important, folks, that you do retreat to clarity, to get the confidence, to have the courage. Any of you have ever read a story in the news, or you've watched a story in the news or whatever, and you've heard about somebody who maybe pulled somebody from a burning car or jumped in the icy waters because they were a witness to a car going in the water or whatever, and they jump in and save somebody's life. And in doing so, risk their own life. And we marvel at those stories. I see you shaking your head. You've got a story in your mind. And we go, what courage? And we call that person a hero, and they are. Well, let's just think about what's happened in that moment when that person quickly, instinctively decides to put their life at risk. Don't we marvel at that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you what's happening in that moment. In that moment, that hero has made the split-second decision. This person is going to die if somebody doesn't help. I'm here. I believe I can help. I believe I should help. That's tremendous clarity, yes or no?
Yes.
They're clear.
Right.
Something must be done. I must do it. It's a split-second decision, but it's not just clarity. That clarity fuels their confidence. I can do it. Something must be done. I can do it. That's the confidence. So clarity is something must be done. The confidence is I can do it. And then the courage to face that fear of losing their own life comes at them like a rushing wind, and they put their life in danger, all because clarity and confidence fueled the courage to do this very scary thing. So wow. I want people to understand that. Like when we see these heroic acts, that process of clarity, confidence, and courage is happening just like that.
Yeah. Wow. That is awesome. So I know we're closing in on time, but so what would you say what would you say are three practical things that anyone can do starting today to begin to get unstuck in their career or professional space and move into the work that they're called to do?
Yeah. Well, we got to start with get clear. Get clear is the first stage of my 7 stages to meaningful work. Okay. Get clear, get qualified, get connected, get started, get promoted, get the dream job, give yourself away. All right. Those are the 7 stages, folks. Think of it as a climb up the mountain, your dream job, your professional pinnacle. So if we want to get unstuck, we start with getting clear. And you may already be clear, but you're not qualified, which is stage 2, and you're scared. You got some self-doubt, whatever, fear, doubt's kind of beating up on you. But by going back to that sweet spot exercise and getting clear, you go, oh, okay, I know I'm supposed to do it. It's not too late in life. I can get qualified, so I got to figure out how to get qualified. Or if I'm clear and I'm qualified, but I haven't found opportunities yet, it's because I'm not truly getting connected. You know what I'm saying? And so it depends on where you're stuck as to what you do. But you would look at my 7 stages. And by the way, folks can go to kencoleman.com right now and download a free PDF. It's free. And it's the 7 stages. So you can look at it and go, where am I? Am I clear? Do I know what I want to do in my life? Check. Am I qualified? Well, no, okay, great. So now we got to figure out, what do I need to learn? What do I need to do? How much is that going to cost? How long is it going to take? Okay. So it just depends on where we are as how we get unstuck, because unstuck is easy when we know where we are and what we must do. And so I tell them to call the show, listen to the Ken Coleman Show, watch it on YouTube, and watch me do this with callers day in and day out. Call the show. I mean, what I love about what I do is that anybody listening to you right now can talk to me.
Yes.
You just got to call the show. And it's, some days it's really hard to get in. It may take you 3 or 4 weeks to get in. Or you can email the show, ask@kencoleman.com. And my producer will schedule you on a day where you can take your lunch break and call me.
Wow.
We'll change your name, change your location so that nobody knows who you are unless they're around listening to your voice. But the point is that you must get clear.
Yes.
To get unstuck, I must be clear. Because when somebody says they're stuck, all that means is they're not sure where to go or how to get there. It's a combination. They don't know. They don't know their why. They don't know their where. They don't know their how. It's some combination of that. So again, the process of getting clear is so huge.
Ken, one last question. How did you pinpoint that it was a career in broadcasting? Because the things that, when I listen to you on the Ken Coleman Show, and I listen to callers calling in and you share some of your story, and I'm like, man, that's definitely me. And I see myself in this area, or I see myself in this area. Like, how were you able to differentiate that it was a career in broadcasting? I know now it's social media or producing content, podcasts, and things like that. So how were you able to pinpoint, if you can answer that?
Yeah, no, I absolutely can. And I'll take you back to the sweet spot exercise. What was the work that I love to do? I went to passion. What fires my soul up? Well, since I was a little kid, I was in a high school drama at my school when I was a 5-year-old kindergartner playing a little newsboy. And I remember the first time stepping on that stage. And I remember the first time I walked out there as a 5-year-old, I saw, I think it was like 500 people in the crowd, which that felt like 5,000 when you're that little. And I remember feeling like I was going to throw up right before I went out there. And I remember when I delivered my first line and I read the audience and I could see they were smiling and they liked me and they clapped for me. And it was the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah.
And so as you get older, you realize, man, I really love performing. I do. I love the pressure to perform. I love communicating in front of people. I love communicating one-to-one with people. So I went through and I looked at what's the work I love to do. Well, I love to communicate. I love to coach people. I've always loved coaching. Outside of what I do day to day here, Jose, the most fun I've ever had in my life when I'm not on a stage or on the radio or television is when I'm coaching young people in sports. And then I equally love coaching people one-on-one.
Wow.
Whether it be a friend of my wife's or a friend of my brother's or a friend of my coworkers or a spouse of my coworker. It doesn't matter who it is. I love one-on-one coaching. And so when you begin to look at the things that you love to do, and I looked at it and I was like, I love giving advice. I've always been the advice giver. When I was in high school and college, my friends always came to me for advice. I've got the power. Excuse me, I should say power. That's a pretty good way of saying it. Talent is a power, but I get the talent of discernment.
Yeah.
I'm really good. I'm very analytical. I can read people. I have a gift of taking a complex problem, people problems, and I can simplify them. So when you begin to identify it, I love performing. I love being on a microphone. So you put all that together and it was ding, 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 it was broadcasting. But it was, I wanted to be able to answer people's question in a broadcasting format.
Okay. Well, Ken, thank you so much. Man, this was,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was such a valuable time together. And for our listeners listening, again, thank you. It was such an honor meeting you in person. And thank you again for doing this and having your time. Thank you, Ken.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Press on.
Thank you, man.